Hello and welcome to Unit 3. Very exciting that we are now starting our how-to unit. So in this unit, you're going to see the same type of a welcome letter. Go ahead and take a look at that and read through it. We're just going to talk about the focus for this month. And then this is going to be the same. No need to reread it, but if you haven't read it yet, make sure you have. Sometimes it's nice, though, to go back and reread and remind us what we should be doing, especially if this is a new process for you. It helps to kind of refocus you on what we're working on. Routines, status of the class is probably something that you phased out, but I do want to talk about one thing that can happen. Sometimes you'll have a student who is a little bit reluctant to write. I had a student who moved into the my classroom, mid-October and wasn't really taking that Kool-Aid, right? Wasn't sure that he really wanted to be a writer and was kind of digging in his heels. Of course, we do lots of lessons on where writers get ideas. We model that on a continual basis. But if you have a student who's still like, I don't know what I'm going to write about, I have a kind of a solution for you. Typically, if I'm doing status of the class and I'm handing out folders, or if I'm noticing a student is having a hard time getting started, I will ask them, maybe everybody else is fine, but I have 3 or 4 students who are having a hard time remembering or thinking about what they're going to write about. As I hand out the folder, I will ask them. If they say, I don't know, then I say, well, just stay here. We're all going to go get to work. And when you're ready, come let me know. So think about what you could write about. And that usually takes care of it. A lot of students are like, I don't want to be hanging out on the carpet. I need to make sure I think of something, be active with it. Gives them time to have a little quiet time. They can think about it, and then they can come tell me. However, I did have a student who dug in his heels. He was like, I don't know. And he spent like 4 days on the carpet not writing at all because he wasn't sure what he was going to write about. So what I typically would do is it's worked every time. Fingers crossed, it'll work for you as well, is I come up to the student and I say, I'm noticing that when it's time for us to do writing, you're having a hard time thinking what you're going to write about. And so, we've kind of talked about where writers get ideas. These are always the students who have like 500 stories to tell you, right? This happened. And then writing time, they can't think of anything. So I say, tonight when you go home, I want you to be thinking about what you could write about. It might be something that happens to you on the bus, or a game when you're playing with your brother, or how you're helping your mom with dinner, or blah, 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 blah. They always have 5. And in the morning when you come in, let me know, and I'll write it on this Post-it note, and that way you'll be ready to go. And they're like, whatever, Mrs. Wills, right? Typically, this child was like not having it, right? So I write their name on the Post-it note. I put it on the door. If I don't do that, I won't remember to ask them, right? I'll all of a sudden be writing time like, oh, I forgot to ask them. Put it on the door. So when they come running in the morning, I said, oh, did you think about what you're going to write about? My one student was like, nope, I don't know. I said, well, don't worry about it because I have recess duty and we do writing after recess. So if you can think of something to do before recess, great, I'll write it down, would be good to go. But if you can't, recess duty, you and I can spend some time at recess just like brainstorming, and then you'll be ready to go. And it's like they flies out of their mouth. I'm going to write about blah, blah, blah. What I do find is that students just sometimes don't feel like they have to do what it is that you're asking them to do. And I want to kind of mention something that I want you to kind of notice is that I didn't say, if you don't know what you're going to write about by the time we get to recess, you'll spend recess time thinking about it. Very different than, don't worry about it. I got it. You and we're going to work through this together. I got you, right? I want to make sure that that distinction is very clear because one of them puts the onus on the student of like, hey, this is something that we're going to do together. And the other one is more punitive, and we don't want it to sound like that. This has never not worked for me. I'm knocking on wood. I've done this year after year. Teachers that I work with, schools that I work with, this works every single time. However, if for some reason you have a student this doesn't work for and you've spent 7 days walking around with them at recess time thinking about what they're going to write about, then there's something else going on, and that's something to be investigated. However, I will say it's never not worked for me. And what really happens is after about 4 or 5 days of doing this on the door, they come in, they're ready to go. They all of a sudden are very excited about what they're going to write about, and they have the energy to write about what they're going to write about. I think that grammatically is incorrect, but hopefully you know what I mean. Also, remember writing is not just about the words. It's about the story that can be told with pictures. So if you have a student who is not ready for that transcription part yet, please let writing be about the pictures for them. You can work on the transcription part during your dictation lessons, right? That's where you're going to be getting them to stretch out words, write a sentence that's being dictated during your core curriculum, right? This is a time for them to get their ideas down. If they can tell a story with pictures, when they become comfortable with transcribing, those words will come. Okay. One other thing that sometimes happens is you have a student who is only interested in drawing and they are capable of transcription. And so what I will do for those students is as I'm walking around and I'm noticing this student never quite gets to the words like I'd like them to, I'll say, oh, I love what you're doing here with the pictures. I'm going to come back in 10 minutes. I can't wait to see what words you've written. I'll be back. And then off you go, you come back, and that tends to spark them. A question sometimes I get is, do you require them to draw for a certain amount of time and write for a certain amount of time? And I used to, and I don't anymore, because not everybody approaches writing the same way. For many students, those drawings are their graphic organizer. It tells them the beginning, middle, and end of their story. So we want to make sure that we encourage that to keep happening. Okay, onward. What else do I want to show you? I want to show you that this has remained unchanged. So they're writing for 20 to 25 minutes. And again, if you have a schedule that is kind of wonky and you can only write for 10 minutes, student writing times for 10 minutes one day, it's better to do that than to skip it. So if you can, make sure that they're writing every day. Sharing schedule, make sure you've looked at the conferring folder. It has some tips on there, and also there's a video. So look at that sharing. It will really elevate your sharing time. Also, reminder about procedure check. So sometimes we have behaviors that students have that we know we've already taught them, and it can be very frustrating for us to see behaviors that are not something that we had in mind, right? Maybe they're not being quiet enough at the car during writing time. Maybe they are their folder looks like a hot mess express, right? So we want to make sure that we make time to build in a little bit of a reminder. But during your writing workshop time, or during your writing time, you want to keep that reminder super quick. Okay, so 1 or 2 sentences. So after you've done your mini lesson, or maybe before, you're just going to say 1 or 2 sentences. So say, one of the things that I'm noticing is that when it's time for us to write, there's a lot of chatter, which is fine, but it's getting really loud. So let's make sure we have that in a quiet voice so our friends can help. So we can help our friends. Keep it really short. Remember, if your pencil breaks, I have a whole collection over there. You don't need to tell me. Just go on over there and swap it out. Okay. Mentor texts. We have lots that are procedural texts. The Pumpkin Book, Growing Vegetable Soup are great. Charlie Needs a Cloak and Fancy Nancy Tea Party. All of those have some great procedural examples in there. There's some books with recipes. Growing Vegetable Soup also has that. And kid-friendly cookbooks. You don't have to get that one. Just get one that is a kid-friendly cookbook. Those are going to be great for you to look at. You could probably even bring some off of the internet. Also, books that have some sequential words. Those are also in there. Remember, your modeled writing is something we want to make sure we show students, not tell them. We want to make sure we're showing them. And also pay attention to those sentences. Writing goals, those are going to be updated for this unit. Again, collect a student example sometime within this unit on what they're doing. Use that rubric. I liked to get a rubric at the beginning and then kind of towards the end before we got to the published piece, but 2 or 3 weeks later, collect another sample and do a quick, rubric on those so that I have some information. Helps me to know when I need to work on them as well. So swap those out. Those are in your anchor chart folder. Writing continuum. This is something that oftentimes you will want to get a sample beginning of the year, mid-year, end of year. So this writing continues in there for every unit, just so it's easy for you to find and handy. All right, here is your day-to-day lesson plans. Now, I want you to notice that although some of these are very genre specific, a lot of these are really writing that works no matter what what genre we're working on, right? So for example, transitional words are super important, right? You're going to be using that in how to, but you're going to use it in narrative. You're going to be using it in, when we get to a fiction unit, you'll be using that also. So transition words are here. Always know that you can come back to it. Making your pictures clear, using exact words to make your ideas clear. All of those are not specific to a genre. Spelling strategies, using words that we know, right? So those are not specific to a genre, although we're teaching them in the genre. Does that make sense? So when we go back to, maybe I need to reteach something in 3 months, know that these lessons are here, that you can come back and reteach those if you need to. Okay, so how to text, that's how you kind of launch it. Here we go. I want to talk about generating ideas, because obviously every unit we need to start doing that, generating ideas. So the how-to chart is there to kind of help you, and there is a what should I say, like a tendency to want to take that and just use that and put that up for students. Instead, we're going to use that as a way to brainstorm even deeper. So there's how to take care of a pet, how to take care of a plant. So, your example to the students is, boys or girls, I have 2 dogs at home, and these are some of the things that I know I have to do to take care of my dog. So I could write something about how to take care of a pet, a dog. I used to have a guinea pig in the classroom. I could write about that. Boys and girls, turn to your partner and let them know, is there something that you know how to take care of at home? And have them brainstorm, come back to you, get those ideas, put them on a chart. So when you're done, you don't have 9 ideas, you have tons. And revisit this throughout the month as you feel like you need to, right? How to make something, how to build something, how to do something, how to cook something, right? Those are all there for you. There is something about playing a game. Just want to give a real quick caution. One thing that I did not have my students do is write about a story about games, okay, or movies that they've seen. Okay. What they can do is they could write about a time they played a game with somebody, right? And a time they went to the movies or they watched a movie at home. But I don't want them to spend their whole writing time retelling the plot of a movie or retelling how to play a game. It's way too complicated. And it's also not tapping into their idea of a storyteller. What they're doing is just regurgitating, and oftentimes not in a clear way. So on there, when it says how to play a game, it will be more like this. I will, how to play a game. First, I have to plug in the yada, yada, yada. And then I have to log in. Now I play with my brother. After that, I do this. And then finally I do that. And at last I clean up or something like that. So a board game, similar idea. We get the board game out. We get snacks, right? Things that we're going to be doing to play the game, but not like, you land on this thing and then you have to go to this place and then you have to find the 7th level of the kingdom. No, we don't want to do that. So just kind of steer clear of those. You're going to get in the weeds, and we don't want students to get in the weeds. We also want to tap in their own ideas, not regurgitating somebody else's story. Okay. Cartoons, all of that stuff. Sometimes I'm reading a story, I'm like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's a game. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. So want to stay away from that. Everything, you can see lots of modeled writing in there for you. And again, when we get to day 16, we're going to be reteaching some of those lessons that we know that we need to cover. It could be something from Unit 1 all the way to Unit 3. You have an opportunity to reteach it. Again, that that procedure checklist is there for you if you need it. So that's there for you. And then, of course, the sharing time. Day 19, I'm going to go back to day 19, is when you have students select one piece. They're going to revisit that piece to make their meaning more clear and to publish it. So this is the day that they go through their folder, they select one piece, they put it aside, they put the rest of those pieces together in a nice, neat package for you, not upside down backwards, right? Everything is facing the right way. They hand it into you. You attach the parent letter, you send that bad boy home, and then they start working and publishing the current piece. You've had the piece displayed from Unit 2, right? So when they're done, when we're done here, they'll go ahead and grab that Unit 2 piece, bring it to you. You'll put it in the portfolio. They'll put the piece from Unit 3 up to display for the rest of the month. Okay, so that is essentially Unit 3. Enjoy, have fun, and happy writing.